Welcome back to The Big Show. It's always nice to get to my favourite people on the programme, and especially when they're funny. Bill Oddie and Graeme Garden, how are you?
Well, what a challenge.
We're very well, thank you.
You both have got funny bones, and you can't buy that, really. You can't be taught funny, can you?
I suppose that's true. Yeah. I guess that is true. I mean, do you mean is it a matter of being funny or
Yes.
actually being, sort of appreciating comedy as well?
Well, the thing is, Bill, when I look at you, I want to laugh.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. I have to take that as some kind of insult, actually.
No.
Wait, this keeps happening to me. Yesterday, we were talking about middle names. We were on one show or something else we did, and they were talking about middle names. Have you got any middle names? And I said, yeah, I've got a middle name. And the interviewer said, is it funny? And I said, no, it's perfectly normal. And she said, what is it? I said, Edgar. And she, you're laughing now. I said, what's so funny about Edgar? Is it, Saxon kings and people are called Edgar?
It's a lovely name, Bill. Calm down.
Mine's Gladys, so I'm not in a position
What's
to
yours?
speak, am I really? Gladys.
Yeah, no, you're just being silly.
I am
You
really.
see, you're being silly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the reason why I'm silly, Graeme, is because I've watched your DVD box set. Do you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Yes,
and,
it's very good.
and it puts you in a very silly frame of mind.
It does. We had to be in a fairly silly frame of mind to make them, but yeah, it's a long time since I've seen a lot of those programs myself. They came quite fresh to me.
You know, when you watch them, Bill, is it like looking
Yeah.
at your grandson?
No, my grandson is tall and 14 and a very good guitar player, so why would that remind me? I don't understand. You mean in the sense of saying, bless it, yes, that's we begat those, or something like that?
Well, it was 300 years ago, wasn't it?
It's nearly, it was 40 years ago. That in itself is a pretty extraordinary thought, I mean, that sort of way of putting it is a bit of a cliche and saying, whoever would have thought you'd still be talking about it 40 years later. That does genuinely come as a bit of a surprise, I do think, wait a minute, 40 years ago, and they're still going on about this. I mean, you have to be the Beatles or somebody for that to happen on the
It's quite remarkable
music.
that it's not been repeated and people are still kind of aware of it.
That's very true, actually, yes.
Well, you're kind of in that Monty Python category, and I hope you take that as a compliment, because it's meant as one, where everybody's heard of it and still knows what it is. And as you say...
Yeah, but they've been repeated ad infinitum.
Is this contracts or something, or have you refused to show it, or do they not want to pay you?
No.
No, I think it's personal, to be honest.
Yeah. We do think it's personal. We've had a clue to this. I'm going to ask Graeme to read out something for us.
No, we had an announcement was made on Points of View. Somebody had written in, a fan, saying, why don't you repeat the goodies to celebrate the 40th anniversary? And a guy called Mark Lindsay, who's the controller of Entertainment Commissioning, wrote back to say that the majority of programmes should be current rather than reflective or nostalgic.
Yeah.
They're showing Dad's Army, in fact, on our 40th anniversary.
Faulty Towers, yeah.
And then he finishes, it's also worth pointing out that the last series of the goodies was actually made for LWT in 1982.
Oh,
So I presume that is the final word. That's the reason.
in other words, the BBC have been holding a grudge for 40 years because we went somewhere else. They wouldn't employ us. We didn't walk out. We were forced out. We were drubbed out almost. I mean, you're talking about sort of wife and children to support and that sort of thing. That's what happened to us back in 1980, 81, something like that.
Yeah.
And we were forced to take a far better offer from London Weekend Television.
It was voluntary redundancy, really, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Does it seriously hurt you, though, that they've got contempt for you at a time when you'd made them a lot of money in terms of ratings and in terms of credibility as well?
Oh,
I feel rather sad that we've fallen out like that because, I mean, we do owe our careers to the BBC, really. I mean, certainly on the radio and TV, that's where we did most of our work and still do it, and that's been terrific. So I'm just rather sad that it's not sort of reciprocated.
A little hurt, yes, and they're not embarrassed by it. I think they were embarrassed. I think there were quite a few people at the BBC in the upper echelons who could consider themselves a bit above the sort of humour that we had, and that's because they got the wrong idea about the sort of humour we had. They probably never really watched the programmes, but they regarded them as being a bit sort of lowbrow and childish, and they weren't. So off they went to the Groucho Club and had another drink and agreed with one another.
It's interesting you talk about lowbrow and down market. That's exactly how my programmer described this show just the other week. Let's take a piece of music.
What are we doing on here?
Let's go and take a piece of music, and we'll come back with the stars of the goodies. 40 years old, both Bill and Graeme, and we'll talk to them next.
If only.
Lovely. We're back with our remaining moments with the two stars of the goodies. It's always nice to talk to Bill Oddie and Graeme Garden as well. Let's start with you, Bill. Is it funny, you being a ornithologist? A lot of people now don't actually realise you're from the goodies.
Are we just going to let that rather cheap, smutty innuendo pass? Or
Yes.
what? We are, okay.
Yes.
I told you it was down market, this show.
Yes, very down market, yes. So what was the question?
Well, I don't know. We just set low standards and I failed to attain them. That's the thing. In terms of people's perception of you now, we think of you as the man with the birds, not the man with the funny.
Yes.
Is that all right? Do you mind?
No, of course I don't mind. What do you mean, do you mind? No, no, of course I don't. I'm rather proud of it, actually. And I was very fortunate that, that was, I didn't suddenly decide, I think I'd better be a wildlife presenter. I need another job. That was always my interest and always my hobby. And so I've been fortunate enough to make that into a job at a time in life when that was necessary, insofar as we'd stopped being goodies and we were having a bit of trouble finding any work. So, but it was very much an accident that happened. And no, I'm very proud of it.
When we were actually making the goodies, we used to end up filming in the most godforsaken places around the coast and great salt marshes. And also, we thought, what are we doing here? And then we discovered later Bill had a word with the producer, and some small, grey, rare bird had been seen in these places. So that's where we booked in to do the filming.
That is absolutely true.
It is true.
That happened on about 3 or 4 locations, which I don't know. Portland Bill, that's where you want to be, down in Dorset. Yes, we'd really be very good down there.
Are you into the birds, Graeme?
No.
Not at all.
40 years it takes him to admit.
I do. I sort of, like to sit and look out at the garden, see the lammergeiers on the bird table and all that sort of thing.
If Tim were here at this moment, which he isn't, and we don't know where he is, by the way, some sort of call out, he would no doubt say that the moment of admiration for my hobby occurred when we were filming down in Dorset and Portland Bill, and we passed this field. I had found a rare bird, and I said to Tim and Graeme, when we come past this field tomorrow morning, there will be 500 people, 500 bird watchers at least here, all looking at the bird I found. And there were. And Tim has often said that was the moment, oh, blimey, he must be good at this or something. And the bird was a yellow-billed cuckoo. Yes? That's always good for a laugh, isn't it? Yes. Yellow-billed cuckoo from America.
And Graeme, the last time we met, you were on tour with the Sorry I Haven't a Clue, which I still love on the wireless. Thank God that programme is still here, because it's a rare opportunity to just hear a few guys having fun.
It's, that's what we like about it. And I suppose, in a way, what we've always tried to do over the years is to make each other laugh on that show. We don't, we have some idea what we're going to do in advance, but we don't tell each other. So we try and surprise each other on the show. I
mean, it's in the same type of humour, isn't it? It's just there to be funny. You can't overanalyse it. It's not some university-written script by a load of pontificating morons. I mean, it is purely there to entertain.
Are you talking about, I'm sorry, I read that again, what we used to do before that? What was that? Pontificating morons, university trying to make... That was, I'm sorry, I'll read that again.
Yes, well, that's what I was trying to get away from.
Obviously, yes.
No, it is.
Because you have nothing to say, do you, Graeme? Nothing of any interest whatsoever.
It is just being silly, but every now and then a little pointed moment will will come into it. It amuses me. It's still called the antidote to panel games, because when it started there were panel games which were taken quite seriously. There aren't any now. They're all like Clue. There's people doing silly things within the context of a game. Now it should say the template for panel games now.
Are you still giving Lionel Blair a hard time?
Of course, yes. He loves it.
He's happy just to be mentioned somewhere, is he?
Absolutely.
Bill,
yes.
Forgive me, I haven't seen it in the research. Have you been on the show, or do you get to do it from time to time?
Well, that's a very moot point. I did appear on it right at the beginning. I was on the original series. If you read an enormous and utterly unreadable book called the Clue Bible, I think, it tells me...
Worth every penny.
It tells me that I did the second series as well, I think. But I then dropped out, as did John Cleese and a couple of others, and No, actually they're a bit like the BBC, you see. So I'm not allowed back on I haven't a clue, and it's entirely because I snubbed them 50 years ago or whatever.
You used to hate doing it.
I did, but you don't know whether I hate it now. You know.
Are you like me, Bill? You like to walk out of a place and then expect to be able to walk back in when you want to?
I don't expect it, no. If I think for 2 seconds. But Graham's absolutely right. I used to really physically feel sick sometimes doing those, especially when they were doing 2 shows at the same time, which is something we weren't used to in those days. Nowadays, cutbacks being what they probably be about 10 shows at the same time. I don't know. But I did feel quite ill, and I do remember. Thank God it wasn't live at that stage. I do remember swearing, in desperation and just saying, I can't do this. But, okay, we've all got flaws and failings. But, never know in old age, you see, you might recover some of those.
I don't know, you get the odd bit of profanity in there, Graeme, from time to time these days, don't you?
It's filthy.
Some of the younger members, yes.
Yeah, there's one for a start. One of the younger members. He can't leave it alone, can he?
I say.
You're writing jokes we've missed. Here, Bill, how you doing? Because I've told you before, I love you very much and we worry about you. We need you back on the telly. Everything all right?
Yes, it's, I'm fine. I've had a very good year, actually. I had an absolute nightmare of a year last year. I won't go into details, but as it's been splashed around occasionally in the papers, I do suffer from depressions and things like that, and last year was a killer, nearly. But fortunately, survived that. I'm enjoying myself very much, actually, because it's made me readjust things, not for any particular reason, but if things aren't available that you used to do, then you're going to have to find something else. It's not that I think, I bet I hadn't do that. I haven't got any choice, really. But it's allowed me to travel a lot more this year, so I've been to all these exotic places: Guatemala, Brazil, Sri Lanka, which are fantastic.
Guatemala still in the EU, or has that been kicked out?
Do you know where it is? Come on, let's give me your next quiz on where is Guatemala.
Look
everybody?
at the time. We've got to go because we're out of this slot.
You
And I've got to
don't
promote your
know.
new DVD, 40 Years of the Goodies, stars Graeme Garden and Bill Oddie, our special guest.
Oh, and Tim, give him a mention.
If he can't be bothered to turn up, then I'm not bothering mentioning him.
Here.
Hey boys, great to have you on. I always love talking to you, and thank you for the memories and such a great box set as well. Thanks for coming on the
Alex.
programme.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.